Yeah, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis, and I am here at my house on the patio on December 11th, and here with a couple of guests. I've got William and Dimitri, and
Greetings.
the the two of them have some very interesting, really cool blooms, actually. So we're gonna have a kind of show and tell, and well, let's just jump into it. Dimitri, what you got?
What I got is Phalaenopsis gigantea or gigantea or however you want to pronounce it. So here it is after about 3 years now.
That's really cool.
It is. And if the camera would focus, it would be even better. But oh
That's
well,
so nice.
I'll send you some pictures. I was able to successfully pollinate this one, so I'm very excited for this cross. I'm not gonna tell right now what it is. But yeah, it's pretty decent. Only 10 blooms, and as you can see, there's or
God,
not.
don't snap that spike. I'm like, don't
Yeah.
snap it.
No, it's fine. You can take some beating, but yeah, it's one of these files that just keep on blooming from the tip.
Oh, so it'll keep going after this.
Yeah, the temperatures really dropped, so it aborted quite a few blooms, but there's hope. As long as the tip is staying green, it's gonna keep going. So there it is. It's pretty big flower. It's very waxy, very thick.
It looks really waxy and thick, and
Yeah, they truly are.
uh,
And they smell very nice, kind of citrus that a lot of the summer blooming shall have.
is
So
that
yeah,
that's a first bloom, right?
it is a first bloom. It took about 3 years to get to this size. The biggest, it's not huge yet. It's just a young adult. So for people that consider gigantea, it's
It's
gonna
a
have
baby.
some, not a baby, but it definitely get a lot bigger. Yeah. As you can see, the yellow leaf was the biggest leaf by the time I got it.
Oh, I
So
see.
yeah, it made one, two, three, four leaves in the 3 years that I had it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So a leaf a year, basically.
Yeah, about it. But the leaves are getting very big.
I
It's
remember
time
last
to.
time we talked, you were saying that people don't think that fowls need as much light as they actually do. I would imagine that one gets quite a bit.
Yeah, this one gets a lot of light in its natural habitat. It grows in Borneo. It was introduced in Europe in 1909, if I remember correctly, from Dutch collectors. And at first, it was very hard for them to grow them properly because it likes it steaming hot and humid and very, very bright. It grows in the canopy of trees. And if I'm not mistaken, there's 5 different shapes, like from the different forests and areas in Borneo. And the one that I have is red dots on a white background, so it should be from Kalimantan genetics. You also have the ones that start white but go golden, the one that have less red but more of a brown hue to them. So different areas yield different results in the flowers. But nowadays it's a bit hard to know what the genetics are.
How to tell them apart. They've all been crossed back and forth a few times, probably.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. Lots of different shapes. Like this one has very round flower leaves, but some of them have much narrower and longer leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these is indicating different genetic backgrounds. But yeah, it's nice to see how this is a very popular species and a lot of crossbreeding has happened, and now the plants are very strong, very proliferous.
That's awesome. What's the maximum size of a gigantea, that you would expect?
You have people that the urban legend says that it is about 1 meter, but
One
if
leaf?
someone, yeah, but no, in reality, if you get a specimen that is like 60 centimeters, is already a very, very big plant. You can expect something like 50, 60 centimeters in a span of Oh, about 10 years.
Wow.
No, it's probably, yeah, this big.
Okay.
So
I've seen
very mature plants.
I've seen some images of Frank Smith's collection over there at Kroll Smith, and he's just got kind of a row,
Oh yeah.
massive
Oh yeah, it's
ones.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'll see if we can dig up a photo and show it. And I mean, they're big. You know, it's gigantea for a reason.
It's in the name, yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of our modern Phalaenopsis that we find in our supermarkets and our IKEAs, they've got gigantea in the genetics, don't they?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, all the harlequin fell. That
Oh
is where
yeah.
they get their speckled background. Speckled
Okay.
red dots on white background. Yeah, it is.
That's where they get those speckles.
Exactly.
so do the different varieties need different conditions, or they all kind of grow under the same conditions?
No, it's basically all the same, but I really didn't know that before I've spoken with people that actually went there and saw them in the field. Um, no, it's just the same, but I didn't know that there were different, yeah, not varieties per se, but different morphs, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. So
Different forms.
I guess if they're not described formally, then they're just forms and not subspecies or varieties, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's really not much sorry, in regarding subspecies of gigantea. You have the normal form, the alba form, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
So
The
what do
alba
you,
is definitely interesting, very sought after.
yeah, what are you doing to get this plant so big and get 10 blooms on your first spike? And basically, how are you caring for it?
After a lot of trial and error, I think that the most important thing this plant needs is very draining media that lets you water it very often. But it's long overdue for a repot. It's a bit dry, but as you can see, it's just leca, and it allows me to basically water it every day or every 2 days if I'm not lazy. If I'm lazy, um, the the roots have filled the entire pot.
Wow.
Hard to see behind the hip, but this has a very extensive root system. And what you ideally want for this is, yeah, very draining media, a lot of food because it's a big plant that takes a lot of food, and a lot of light, a lot of it. It's the Phalaenopsis that, as far as I know, can withstand the most light. Basically, I have it full sun right now.
Wow.
Part of full sun in summer as well, not too much because it's definitely way too strong. But yeah, they grow in the canopy, so as you can imagine, it gets very, very bright.
As long as you're able to cool the leaves with plenty of air, then
exactly,
they can
yes.
withstand that.
Very important. That's why LEDs like I have in the background are super cool. Allows you to basically toast the plant without killing it.
So if you're growing this one in shady conditions in a pot full of sphagnum that's sopping wet, you're gonna kill it, huh?
Depending on, soaping wet sphagnum is never a good idea, I think. It doesn't matter what plant you're talking about. But they will grow in shady conditions. They will grow bigger, but they will not bloom correctly.
I have a couple questions. One is, does your pot there, is it like the semi-hydro where you have a little reservoir at the bottom?
It is a daily pot that I just.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I went the DIY route and took a soldering iron and just put a hole in it. So
okay.
it is a 1 liter pot.
Okay.
And way too small for this plant.
All right. And then the second question is, when roots come out of the plant above the medium, will they change direction and find their way into the medium?
Yeah, they are. They kind of dried up because I kicked on the heat and it's very dry at the base. But as you can see on some of these roots, they're going down.
Okay.
So it's a plant that needs a lot of anchor because it's very heavy
Mm,
and it also drinks a lot. So the roots just start here and then they grow inside the pot and they just find as much of an anchor as they can.
I see.
So yes,
One
it is.
one issue I've had with some plants is that the root will come out above the medium, and then when it touches the medium, it will just stop. And I've
Oh
been
no,
trying to
no, this one has a very extensive root system.
Okay.
So I think this is partly why it's a bad first species for people that are getting started in Phalaenopsis. That it really needs a big root system. So if your conditions are and your growing technique is not very on point
Practiced.
yet, yeah, and you kill the root system, there's basically no recovery.
Mm.
With some species, with some plants, you can just start over, like Catasetum. It doesn't matter if you kill the roots. But with gigantea, it's just over basically.
Oh, that's interesting. If you basically get one chance.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of cattleyas like that, Walkeriana and Nobilior, they won't bloom unless they have a massive, massive root system. I mean, you kill off a Dowiana roots, that thing's toast the same way. Another high canopy species that likes similar media, really. And if you kill that root system, these things are just toast.
yeah, I think it's really part of the reason why so many people have issues with them. Like you said, soapy sphagnum is not really a good idea, especially if your conditions are a bit on the cool side.
Yeah.
So it's not a very hard species per se, but you have to understand and know what you can and cannot do in terms of watering it.
So you mentioned that you pollinated it, and how long do you think until that pod's ready to go to the lab?
And where are you going to send it?
To myself, I'm
You're
gonna
going
do it
to.
myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I do dabble. Same thing. It's way overdue because I have too many things to do. But yeah, if you if you can basically build a sterile box, you can do it yourself. It's fairly fun and easy. Um, Gigantea is fairly long, fairly long. I would expect like 9 months.
Yeah. And will you flask it with an immature green pod, or will you wait for it to dehiss and open and then flask it?
Probably green pod because it's much easier. For people that don't know, green pod is basically you just take a pod that has not opened yet and the seeds inside are sterile. So you can just scrape the insides and put it on flasking media and easy. But when the pod bursts open, you have to sterilize the seeds. So you have a higher risk of killing the seeds and introducing cross-contamination. So
I know.
I'll see, but the green method is very easier.
I remember that Dustin from Here But Not had a pretty interesting series of videos where he did kind of at home flasking with the DIY box. Is your technique going to be similar, or have you kind of
Yeah,
made
this
your
is
own
what I
lines?
use. Yeah, it's really similar to this one. It's a very good series. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's do a little bit of a topic change. I know, William, you've got something over there next to your shoulder there, behind you, kind of beside you, I guess.
Oh,
What do you
this.
got? And what adventures have you been having with it?
Uh, this is a Mormodia plant it was awarded a couple years ago with a HCC, and I've let it go. And this year it has 87 flowers, and so I was going to try to take it into judging. Judging was yesterday.
87.
87, yeah. But the judges told me that if they're not all bloomed out, it's really they're probably going to pass on it, and I said okay, well that's okay. So
That looks
I
like it's like 3/4 open though, isn't it?
yeah, God, do I dare bring it over here? Yeah, 3/4, but they were just saying that, I don't know. There's still quite a few closed ones. And remember, this is a day after. So
Yeah.
some have opened a little bit in the past 24 hours, but yeah, I think
It's big.
it is pretty big. Yeah, so
Isn't
that's the
your whole
question.
room filled with the scent of those flowers?
Believe it or not, this one, the scent is pretty mild. It's just kind of like a menthol citrusy scent, and it's not really strong because there's so many flowers that you do smell it. It's like it's pervasive, but it's not strong. Like
Okay.
it's like, I can tell there's something, but it's not, really strong. But um, I I get a lot of questions about like, are you still watering this kind of stuff? And I personally will water this until the flowers fall off. Once the flowers fall off, that's when I will stop watering it. So I like to keep the bulbs plump until it's completely bloomed out. And then once that's done, then I leave it alone until, the roots are well developed in May or June. And it's just so huge. The leaves on it come out this far. So it's always a question of, do I want to let this keep going? Because it's so easy to divide, and you can just grow it from one bulb. You can get a whole new plant, So I don't know. And then, as you guys probably saw, I have gotten like 5 or 6 Signo keys from SVO in the past year, and those aren't small plants either. So
Yeah.
um, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
When you
But
say you keep watering, do you mean with fertilizer or just pure water?
It's sometimes I will. It's not very intentional, but like if I'm watering my collection, I will, and there's fertilizer in it. I mean, I'll still put it on there. I won't water the center of the pot. I'll water like the 4 corners of it. So water kind of drips through the 4 corners of it, but not through the middle of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say overall there's a decrease in water and a decrease in fertilizer, but I don't stop completely until it, like I said, when all the flowers are completely bloomed out, that's when it's like, okay, I'm not gonna worry about watering this guy anymore. So yeah,
It's unfortunate that it's like, tomorrow or the next
almost
day would
there.
be
Yeah.
perfect
Well,
for judging.
and that's the thing. The Great Plains Judging Center is in Kansas, which is a 9-hour drive from where I live, and they're judging next weekend. So if I was really ambitious, I would throw it in the car. Don't ask me how I would drive 9 hours with that in the car without breaking something, but
Yeah.
I could take it there. But for this Grex, there's one in the judging system that got a certificate of cultural merit.
Mhm.
It had 137 flowers. So they told me that with 87, it's not even eligible for a cultural award. So I was like, okay, well, if the judge,
Quality over
when
quantity.
the chair of the judging committee tells me that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of autonomy in the judging system, and you know, all of us judges kind of look at what the other judges do, and we kind of scratch our heads sometimes, like, because we wouldn't do it that way,
Uh-huh. Yeah, and
and it's
that's
not
one benefit
wrong.
of going to a different judging center. Is like they might look at it totally differently, right? Because the
Yeah.
one in the system that's awarded with the CCM, it's more of like a cloacia form,
Mhm.
like they're real small and close together and real close to the bulbs. And these inflorescences are like 40 centimeters long, right? So it's like it's kind of almost apples and oranges in the same within the same Greg. So I don't know how they deal with something like that.
Yeah, it's all subjective, and judges being judgmental. So but yeah, I think that's an easy AM for me.
You think so?
I bet you'll get over 100 blooms next year.
Yeah, each bulb puts out about 40. So if I got 2 bulbs this year. So if I got 2 again next year, or even 3, who
It'd
knows?
be it'd be monstrous, yeah.
But just, yeah, going back to culture real fast, these things, these are some of the easiest plants I have in my collection. I mean, 6 months out of the year, I'm not doing anything to them. You know, the hardest thing is just figuring out a place to put them so the spikes can extend, you know?
I think that group really is one of the most forgiving types of orchids. And, I know Dimitri had some fun things happen to his plant this summer, and it's beautiful now.
I do have it now.
Yeah.
Are you have it with you? Oh,
There you
nice.
go.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's fun, really. It's my first real year growing these, but I'm looking forward to the massive bulbs that this can put out.
Hmm. And I mean, it looked pretty rough after it got scorched this summer, and man,
Oh
look at
yeah,
it
yeah,
now.
this bulb is.
Looks
This was
great.
the biggest bulb, and this one is pretty much toast, but it's not completely mushy, so I'm letting it be, and yeah, it's really nice.
Are you still watering that?
It's under the lid, so yeah, I'm still watering it, and it keeps plumping up really visibly. I wouldn't be able to say how much I'm fertilizing, but yeah, it keeps going. So
Yeah. Well, you might get some spikes on it.
Yeah.
I hope, and hope not at the same time, because as you said, space is a
They're
very
this big, yeah. Each one
yeah.
of them this big.
But yeah, as
Yeah,
long as it's happy, I'm happy.
you'll find somewhere to put it for sure.
Yeah.
Not sure if judging centers would be nice to such a plant now. I really don't know if there's a scene for these catacinae in Europe, but yeah, it's very looking forward to it.
It seems like that's a tremendous opportunity in Europe because every time I post pictures of my Rebecca Northern or of this or of my Signoches, like Europeans are always like, those are so hard to find here, you know, and I'm just like, why isn't someone jumping on that? I mean, there seems to be a demand and they're not
I don't
hard to
know.
grow and propagate, you know, so.
I don't know. We have the very famous clones, like the black ones.
Uh-huh.
Obviously,
Millennium
forgot the name.
Magic and
Yes,
After Dark and
exactly. Yeah, and kind of a few Saknukis as well. The ones from Taiwan that were cloned, but aside from that, there's not much. Surprisingly,
wow,
as you say, not much.
it's
There,
interesting.
there's a small but passionate group in Germany that do a lot.
They're working on them.
And they do a lot with imports. Actually, they do Florale imports, Bella Vista, and I think Schwertner actually has some catasetums that come in as well. But yeah, it's not a big group. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, so far north, they're hot growing plants. I think they
That's
take up a
true.
lot of space for the ordinary windowsill grower.
It's a
It's
commitment.
it's tricky, yeah.
Yeah, but it's rewarding. It's certainly something that is out of the grocery store plant, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
look very cool. And they smell very good.
Yeah. Yeah, they tick a lot of boxes for sure. And yeah, they're not super difficult. I've had a lot of people ask me, you know, they've said, I've had mine for 3 or 4 years and it grows great, but it doesn't bloom. And my answer would only have to be I can only imagine that it's a light issue. I literally cannot imagine anything else. If the plant looks good and you've got roots and you've got growths, but it's not blooming, I mean, do you guys have any other ideas besides a light issue?
99% of the
I've
time,
passed,
it's lights.
So
but don't. I thought that if you gave too little light, they would bloom. But as male,
That
I'm
so
confused.
there's a couple
that's the thing
factors.
because this is this one is not a what do you call it, a dioecious or whatever, like
It's not sexually dimorphic.
yeah,
Got
these are perfect flowers. So
Mhm.
But yeah, so early on there was the thought that male flowers come under shady conditions. And the thinking is that, it takes a lot of resources to grow a pod, but not so much for male flowers. So a plant getting a lot of light can grow a pod and will grow a pod. And there's some truth to that, but really what it comes down to is the health of the plant. a bigger plant that's more healthy is going to throw females typically, and then a smaller plant or a younger plant will typically throw male flowers. And one of the chats that I did with Fred Clark, he said the same thing. In fact, when you listen to him talking about catasetums in the societies, he'll say your catasetums will reward you with great culture by throwing unattractive female flowers. So to get around that, you can either stress them or you chop them. And he chops his every 3 years so that he can get male flowers.
Because he's a breeder, so he has to get the cycle of female and male, and
exactly,
it's a bit tricky for him.
Yeah. So whereas, hobby grower, they prefer male flowers, although I on cycnices, I actually prefer a lot of the time the female flowers.
Yeah, the female ones on yours were fantastic.
Yeah, it was a Cooperii, right?
Yeah, that
very nice,
real bronzy orange. But for the catasetums, I think you get these female flowers that are sort of these green hooded goblins, and people get those and they're all upset. And
I mean, you got an award on one of the females, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a different kind of beauty, but they're still beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and actually, my next goal is to get green Denali awarded on male flowers so that I have an award on both the female and the male. And it doesn't happen very often, but I think Mark Margolis in Florida has one or two where he's gotten that, which is really cool.
And the male flowers on this green Denali are absolutely amazing, I think.
They're huge.
I looked at Fong Sing in the Orchid Pro, and another one has been awarded for female flowers. So I don't know. There's only one Fong Sing that's been awarded for male flowers, I think. So, and yours is better for sure. So
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. But I've forgotten that there's another female award for Fong Sing. It's a cool one. Well, Zoom's telling me I got 6 minutes left. So do we is there anything else we want to chat about on these topics or anything else?
I mean, it's hard to know on the spot because when I have cultural interrogations, I just send them to you via chat. So
yeah, and I actually, I encourage everybody watching this to reach out as well to any of us, and ask about, obviously he's got the FAL thing down, and William and I, and actually all three of us are growing catasetums and doing pretty well with it. So, we've got some insight there to provide. So
I'm great. Catasetum, just one.
Yeah, but boy, does it look good.
Yeah. It's a good one to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, you did the heavy lifting. I just had to keep it alive, basically. So.
All right, y'all. Well, want to wish everybody out there good weekend, and I hope everybody's having a great growing season and a great holiday season coming up.
That's right.
And
so close already.
Yeah, it's almost next year.
All right, well, thanks for having us, Stephen.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Bye.